Hi everybody, my name is Alyssa, and today I am talking about the effect that social media has on children and teens as they're growing up, specifically in this new generation. Children and teens these days rely heavily on social media as a form of contact with their friends, as a form of kind of escape from reality, and it definitely has a lot of positives to it, but it also has a ton of negatives. According to the article Association of Social Media Use with Social Wellbeing, Positive Mental Health, and Self-Related Health, 7 out of 10 people in the United States use some form of social media to connect with other people, whether that be to learn, for energy, or for entertainment. And it's definitely an essential part of day-to-day life for adults, but it's also taken over the lives of the new generation. And it's definitely harming some of these kids more than it is helping them. There are a lot of negative effects that it has on them, starting off with just the addiction. Although social media and things like TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat aren't the first things you think of when you think of things that a child could be addicted to, they're definitely one of the largest things. It's definitely really easy for social media to kind of pull them in and for them to get lost in it. Along with that, it is really detrimental to their mental health. It's really hard for people, young girls, young boys, to look on social media and see other people that they want to be like and not compare themselves to them. A lot of images that I found kind of depicted the idea of body dysmorphia and looking at someone and thinking, why don't I look like that? Or looking at yourself and seeing yourself as 10 times larger or 10 times smaller than you are, which when your brain is so young, that can just be a really bad thing. And that kind of goes along with the beauty standards that young children are given while they're using social media, that they should look the way these Photoshop models look, that they should look the way people that are doing this for a living look, people that are models, people that put their bodies through so much harm just to get paid for it. And that's just super unrealistic, and they don't realize it because it's all over social media. And then it also kind of makes it hard for teens to understand the real world versus social media world if they kind of get stuck in that realm of the chronic online, the chronically addicted to it. It can kind of be hard to switch back over into the real world. And so while all of these things are really big issues, these are all things that are talked about a lot. These are things that everybody kind of knows is going on, and whether they ignore them or whether they acknowledge them, it's not a secret. But one thing that's not talked about a lot is the solutions to this. So everybody is aware that these children are on social media. Everybody is aware that it's harming them, but there aren't articles out there. There's not a ton of stuff out there that says this is what we can do to help. This is how we can make sure that it doesn't affect the next generation, or how to help this current generation. And so one thing I want to talk about is the different ways that we can start doing that, and kind of what people are doing now that's not working. So I know right now a lot of parents, they'll use parental controls on their kids. They'll use, you have to enter a passcode to see this, or screen time, or, they don't let them have TikTok or Snapchat. And while realistically that's a good effort, it's not really preventing them. It's just making them more secretive about it. So I just think it's super important to kind of start that conversation of, what are we going to do so that they're not learning these things? Not so that we don't know they're learning these things, but so they're not learning them at all. And I do think that part of the problem is that a lot of adults didn't go through this when they were younger. A lot of adults didn't have access to the wide range of information that these kids have access to. So like on YouTube, on Snapchat, on TikTok, on Instagram, they can look anything up. They can get around the controls that you said. They can get around the minor. They can go in and they can change their age. They can do a lot of different things that these adults don't even realize they can do because they clicked one button that said they're a minor. And so I just think it's really important to start that conversation. And solutions that I would have for that is, I think that apps need to take the time to limit what is allowed to be posted on there. Obviously, a lot of people wouldn't be happy about this, and they would argue freedom of speech or freedom to say what they want to say, to put what they want to say out there. But at some point, there are certain things that aren't appropriate at all, and that shouldn't be online in general. For example, going on TikTok, you shouldn't be able to find videos of certain things. You shouldn't be able to find pictures on Instagram of certain things, whether it be a 12-year-old or a 25-year-old. looking at it, there are some things that just are not appropriate. And so I think that that would help a lot as a solution for that. And I also think that kids shouldn't get phones as early as they do. A lot of kids these days get their phones in 6th grade, 5th grade, 4th grade. As the years goes on, the age that they're getting their phone at, it just kind of slowly goes down younger. And so they're learning how to do all these things at such a young age where they're not even aware how much it's affecting them. They're not aware of the creeps that are on the internet that are allowing them to get access into their lives. And so I just think that's also super important to look at, is what are we giving other people access to without even realizing it? And that's also a huge thing on TikTok, is people that are posting their young kids, people that are posting their babies, that they don't even realize that that's going to stick with them for their whole life. There's Reddit pages of people discussing them. I'm sure there's things on the dark web of people discussing these children, and that's going to follow them until they're grown. And it's because those parents made that decisions for them at such a young age. So I think educating parents and children in general of the harm that having that huge social media footprint can have on kids is super, super important.